Okay, so I'm going to go over this Cinemagraph process. I'm going to have you guys download a video from archive.org if you just want to watch this, and then you can do this right after. So when you go to archive.org, come up here, find the video tab, and I like to use the you can look through whatever. But I like to do the ephemeral films or the Prelinger archives. And what that gives you, these old black and white films, educational films that they make fun of on The Simpsons all the time. They're really cool. So you'll click on any one of these and download it. So you can scroll through it here, but when you download it, if you come down into this area, you're going to see all these download options. What you want to look for are MPEG-4, H.264, or high-res MPEG-4. Any of those will work just fine. Stay away from ones that are different than that. So I'm on Firefox, or excuse me, I'm on Chrome. So in order to download that, I can highlight the thing there, right-click, and say Save Link As. Make sure that says MPEG-4 movie, and then save it where I know I'm going to have it. Okay. Some browsers do it slightly differently. So watch for your browser. Once you've done that, and I've already got one downloaded right here on the desktop, you need to trim that file. Okay, so you need to, it's a long movie, you need to take it down to a few seconds. So you need to find a spot in it that works for what you're doing. I'm going to open this up in QuickTime Player. Most of these MPEG-4s will open that. If you don't see that, right click on it, say Open With, and select QuickTime Player. Okay, so you can scroll through the movie this way. This is about a boy and a ghost on a bus, and I think she was killed on a bus accident, and she's trying to help him be safe. But what I like is this scene right here. Okay, so I have the students in front. I have shot through a window. So what I'm going to do, once I find a spot, I'm going to go up to Edit and Trim. Brings up this dialog here. And what I can do is I can drag these handles in from the left to the point where I want the trim to start. Right there is good. Drag it in from the right. And I don't need much video, just a couple of seconds. Like that. Then I'm going to click Trim. Go up to, I can go ahead and play it just to make sure. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to have to do one other thing here. So I need to save this out. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to click Duplicate first. And then Save. I'm going to call that Bus Clip. And hit Save. And that saved it in my Documents folder. I think, yeah. I'm going to put that on the desktop so I know where it is. All right, I am going to... So I have my clip now. Right here, I am going to, let's see, open Photoshop. So we're working in Photoshop for this. Go into Photoshop. It's going to open up into a blank project, and that's good. Now, your project's going to look like this. Obviously, the default setup is this, and that's fine. We're going to go to File. Instead of making a new one, we're going to go to File, and we're going to, excuse me, sorry. We're going to go to Open. We're going to find our clip and click on Open, like that. So don't go to Import. What that's going to do is that's going to open up this new panel down we haven't played with before. Now it's called the timeline panel. So up here, if you don't see that, it's under Window, Timeline. So this is where you work with the things that are moving. So let's zoom in on this a little bit. Make this a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is, now I have this piece of video. Notice I have a couple of things over here in my layers panel. I have a video group and I have a layer 1. It's got a little movie icon on it. So we know that's a piece of video. If I come down to the timeline, I have a couple of things going on in here. I have a layer that corresponds to the video group. Okay? And I have you can see a video group. I have a playhead that goes across this way. You see if I drag that, it plays through my video. I can also hit the play button and play through it that way. If I click on the little gear, I can tell it to loop playback. You'll see that I'll play in perpetuity, like that. And I can use the space bar to start and stop that. Down at the bottom, there are some buttons here. If you want to zoom in or out, you can grab this slider and zoom in and out to see what you're doing. And the measurement tool is marked in frames, seconds and frames. So you have 1 second, 2 seconds. All right, so this is where it gets just a little bit complicated. Okay, so follow this process through, and you'll be okay. We just need a couple of frames of this actually to loop it and have it look like it's moving. If I look kind of in this area, I do have a tree in there. That's a little bit of an issue, but we'll see how it works. So if I look in this area about right here, this is kind of what I want. All right. Let's just try. The tree is a little bit of an issue. We'll see if it makes a problem. Okay, so the thing you want to do with this, in order to loop a piece of thing like a background, you need to not just play it in a loop, otherwise it'll look like this. If you look at the background, you can kind of see where it snaps from one thing to another. We need that background to kind of fade into itself. Okay? So we're going to do that by blending this with itself. All right? And it's a pretty cool process. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to move my playhead inside my video a little bit. Maybe right about there where that tree's hidden. I'm going to hover my pointer over the first part of the video, and I'm going to click and drag here. What I'm doing is I'm shortening that video layer. So now this is where I shortened it to. So that video's still there, but my loop starts at that point. I'm also going to come over here and drag the end of this in this way. So this is non-destructive editing. I haven't lost that video. It's still there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now duplicate this layer. So if I come over here to this group, this is a new way to duplicate stuff, by the way. We can right-click and say duplicate group, but you ever want to duplicate anything, you can grab it, drag it down to the new layer icon, and just do like that, and it very quickly does that. So what I have now is I have the same, I have a duplicate. So I have the first one, and I have a copy. Exact same thing, exact same place. I'm going to drag this to the right and let it snap right on the end there. So what's happening now is at the beginning of this clip, I have a certain frame, and right here at the end, right there, I have the exact same frame. Okay, so that becomes my loop point. Right? Now, what I want to do is hover my mouse right here, drag back out, and let that come out. Okay? So I've re-added that footage before that first frame. So this is, like I said, this is the most complicated place. Now what I want to do is grab this and drag it back. You're not going to see any difference yet, but essentially what I'm going to do is have this fade out and fade into this one so that it starts at that frame and ends at that frame right there. Does that make sense? A little bit? All right, let me show you how to do that. So when I click the disclosure triangle here, you're going to see we have a couple of things available to us down here. We have these things right here. So style, opacity, position, and altered video. We're interested in opacity in this, okay? So I want this video to disappear as it plays through, and I want this one to come up, okay? So I'm going to change the opacity on this to come down. So I'm going to actually move my playhead over to where I want the opacity change to start playing. And then I'm going to click on this little stopwatch here. This is a keyframe indicator. I'm going to turn the keyframe on. Right here in the timeline, you're going to see a little yellow guy there. So what that does, that tells the computer at this point in time, this value, opacity, is 100 because that's what's over here on opacity. If I drag my playhead forward to the end and I change that opacity down to 0, you're going to see it adds another keyframe in there. So now what's happening is this video clip is fading out, and that video clip is allowing that video clip to fade in, essentially. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. So if I loop it now, you're going to see it looks a lot different. And you can watch her forehead. Just ignore the sound. Watch her forehead. You can see the fade in there. The background's starting to look pretty well looped. Okay? All right. There's one more step in this, and that is using a mask. All right. If you look on the project page, underneath this video, I have a hint here. There's a shortcut to create a still frame from one piece of video and then add that as a separate layer. And if you're thinking about how masks and layers work, you probably know where we're going. So that shortcut is Shift-Option-Command-E. It's a real pain in the ass to remember. But that's why I wrote it down for you. Shift-Option-Command-E. So what that does, I'm going to find a still frame that I think works well for this. Probably something right in there. I'm going to put my playhead there. I'm going to hit Shift, Option, Command, and E. And what that did is that made a layer here. Now that layer is in the video group. I need to drag that out of the video group like that. I need to drag it over to the left so it's on top of that, and I can shorten it up. Okay, so now if I play through that, you're not going to see anything because the layer on top is now a still frame from those videos. Okay? Can you guess what I'm going to do now? Anybody? I'm going to mask. I'm going to mask it out, yeah. So what I'm going to do is on this layer, I'm going to add a mask. And I'm just going to mask, I'm going to paint black in the mask where I want the moving parts to be. Okay? So what I have to do now is I have to select what I want that part to be. So I'm going to grab my quick select tool and start to draw a selection in here. Now, obviously, the better the selection, the better this is going to work for you. I'm going to do this quick because just so we have just so the demo doesn't take very long. So I'm selecting all the part here that is the outside. Of course, I keep grabbing their heads, but we can fix that. So it'll be something like that. Now, I would probably go back and let's say put do a polygonal lasso and subtract from this selection here, like that. Now I'm going to select my mask. I'm going to grab my black paintbrush Let's make sure that is full black. You can see the mask now looks like that. Click back out of it. And we play. Not too bad. Okay, I got a little bit of bounce on the background, but the foreground's still, the background's moving. I could probably go in and detail his collar here just a little bit to try and make sure that doesn't keep moving. So I would look into this and go a little farther, but let me tell you how to get this out of here. All right, there's a very specific process to export these in Adobe Creative Cloud Edition, okay? If you follow the tutorial I have on the project page, it's slightly different because it's an older version. What you want to go do is you want to go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy, okay? It's the only place you're going to find the correct exports. Now here's where you start to be able to see how it's going to export. If you come up to the presets, we have a couple of things. Remember, this is Cinemagraphs are types of animated GIFs. We have all these GIF possibilities in here, so those are the ones you need to choose. If you exported any of these other ones, it's not going to work. So let's start with the 128 dithered first. That's not too bad. If you look down here in the lower left of that, you're going to see the file size on here. Now, doing the file size from the downloaded videos is going to be naturally small. When you're doing them from your iPhone, these files are going to be big. So you can do a couple of things. Before you export it out, you can change the pixel dimensions of that image, okay? Go into the image size dialog, change it down to less than 1,000 pixels in its longest dimension and 72 dots per inch, okay? But if your file size is still too big, you need to come up here and you need to look through these things. So that's 340K. If I come down to GIF 32 dithered, makes that a little smaller. If I come all the way down to 64, you can see it makes it a little bit smaller. So you get to monkey around with the file size in there. I'll explain a little bit more about GIFs later, but let's go ahead and get this out of here. The main thing you want to check with an animated GIF is to come down here into the animation panel right down here and make sure that looping option is set to forever. Okay, if that's not set to forever, you can make this loop just once and then stop. We want it set to forever, and then we want to save. Make sure that has .gif out. We're going to save that to the desktop. Hit save like that. Let's check our thing. That should be right here. Now remember, on a Mac, to preview an animated GIF, don't double click on it. Highlight it and hit the space bar. Okay, that's how you choose that. If you double click on it, it's going to bring it up in preview as a series of images. Kind of gives you an idea what's going on in there, if you want to preview it. So that gives you a quick and dirty way to make a cinemagraph using the animation panel in Photoshop.